We've all seen the media portrayal of a computer programmer. They're shown as super nerds sitting in their dark rooms surrounded by computer monitors. They type endlessly on their keyboards and spout off meaningless jargon as though they're speaking some kind of foreign and mysterious language. The other characters in the movie or TV show will marvel at their superhuman ability to get the computer to do impossible things. Unfortunately, this portrayal has led many to believe that learning to program is complicated and difficult. But this is simply not true. I've been doing web development for about 9 years. I've worked on projects ranging from small websites for local businesses to large applications used by businesses to process vast amounts of data. I'm mostly self-taught. I've learned everything I know through personal research and through trial and error. My experience has led me to believe that anyone can learn to be a web developer. They just need to learn the tools and processes that web developers use to create websites. My hope today is to share some of the insights I've gained as a web developer and to explain some of those tools and processes so that you can see how you can gain this valuable skill for yourself. I'd like to start by explaining what web developers actually do. The Bureau of Labor and Statistics describes a web developer as someone that designs, creates, and modifies websites. Over the last few years, this role has grown to include mobile applications as well. In fact, IBM estimates that in a few years, over 50% of the apps you use on your smartphone or tablet will have been created by a web developer. Furthermore, as the internet has continued to grow in popularity, businesses are using web developers to find new and innovative ways to attract customers to their websites. Web developers are also being used internally in businesses to create tools used by executives to aid them in their decision-making processes. Because of this increasingly valuable role, web developers are becoming a valuable commodity in the job market. In an article published in Business Insider magazine, Nicholas Carlson wrote, "It helps that there aren't enough of us web developers to go around. I'm told by a friend at Bloomberg that they missed their quarterly tech hiring target in New York by about 200 people. In other words, there are more web developer jobs than there are web developers to fill those jobs. Hence, anyone who has basic web development skills will find themselves as a valuable commodity in the job market." With that in mind, I'd like to explain the simple tools that web developers use in their jobs. There are 3 things that build every web page on the internet. The first and most basic is HTML. Now, HTML is not a programming language, it's a markup language. Well, what does that mean? Syracuse University describes HTML as a tool that defines structure of web pages and determines how data is displayed. Now, that might sound like a bunch of technical mumbo-jumbo, but it makes sense if you stop and think about it for a minute. The best example is to think about writing a report in Microsoft Word. Your report consists of different elements. For example, you have headers, you have paragraphs, you might have pictures or tables or lists, all as part of this report. Well, HTML describes your content to a browser in the same way using HTML tags. For example, you would put a header tag around your headers, a paragraph tag around your paragraphs, a list tag around your lists, table tags around tables, so on and so forth. There are many different types of HTML tags that you can use to define your content to the web browser. Now, once you write your HTML and you load it up in the web browser, you'll notice that it doesn't look like much. It'll be black and white, it'll be flat, and it will look a little weird. That's where the next tool of web development comes in. It's called CSS. CSS tells the browser what the HTML should look like. Using CSS, you can describe what font the web page should use, what color the font should be, what size the font should be. You can tell the browser whether your website has a background image or not. You can also change the layout and the way things appear on the web page. There are many different CSS rules, and one of my favorite things to do is to experiment with them and play with them to create new and interesting layouts and designs for a web page. Once you have it all designed and looking how you want, the next tool is called JavaScript. JavaScript makes your web page interactive. For example, when you go to google.com and you start typing in the search bar, you'll notice that search results start showing automatically. That's powered by JavaScript. In your web page, you could make different things happen. For example, when a user clicks a button, you can make something change colors or show up or disappear. JavaScript allows us to make our web pages interactive and exciting. Those are the three tools: HTML to define the content, CSS to style it, and JavaScript to make it interactive. Now, those three tools are used in a certain process to create every web page on the internet. The first step of this process is to actually choose a project to work on. Nico Schwell, a developer with 20 years of experience, has said, "It is easier to learn something if you have a concrete project in mind. This will let you apply the theory you learn in a real-life context." So, to start, choose something you actually want to work on. Make sure it's something that will cause you to stretch and learn new things, but don't choose something too difficult, or you might get frustrated and give up. A good example of a starter project would be to create a personal portfolio, showcasing some of the work you've done at school. Once you have your project in mind, it's time to design it. Figure out what you want your web page to say. What do you want it to look like? How is a user going to interact with your site? Figure all these things down and take good notes. The more effort you put into a design, the easier the actual programming or creation of the website will be. The next step is to follow an iterative process to actually build the website. Iterative is a fancy word meaning process or cycle. It goes a little like this. First, choose a manageable goal. Make it sure it's something small that you can accomplish quickly. For example, you might choose a goal to program half the HTML for your web page. Then you do it. You work on it until it's done. Once you're done, you review what you did. What did you learn? What would you do different next time? Then you choose a new goal and you continue the process. As you work on these goals, you'll notice that your website slowly starts to take form until you're completed. As you go through this cycle, you might get stuck and hit a roadblock. You might try to do something you simply don't know how to do. Fortunately, the programming community is very open and eager to share information and to teach you. Web developer and blogger Joshua Johnson said, "The web is completely bursting with both free and purchasable information that will teach you all there is to know about web design and development." One of the web pages that I use a lot is called stackoverflow.com. On Stack Overflow, you can post a question and then have experienced programmers and developers answer it and teach you. What's more is they will often point you to other resources to help you further your knowledge and to encourage you to try new things. And that is the process that all developers use to build every web page on the internet. They choose a project, they design it, they follow an iterative cycle to choose small goals and work on them till they're done, and they research when they get stuck. In conclusion, I'd like to reiterate that anyone can become a web developer. All it takes is a simple knowledge of the tools, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and the iterative process of creating websites to accomplish it. With these skills in your tool belt, I am confident that you can become a good web developer.